sorry, I was on a beach and I just couldn't be bothered coming home for that. I thought that was a great excuse.
I hope you didn't get sunburned.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Okay, I'm going to go by the clock that I'm looking at. It's a couple minutes ahead of the one on the wall, but I'm showing 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the February 21st. Excuse me, I'm going to remind everybody to turn their microphones on and speak clearly into them. I'm going to call the meeting to order for February 21st, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Remind anybody in the audience who is not aware of it that our policies and agendas are available out in the lobby. And if you do have a cell phone, if you could turn it off or put it on mute, it would be appreciated. I would note for the record that all of the commissioners are in attendance. In addition, we have Craig Collins and Dee Hardy with the Planning and Zoning Office. From the City Attorney's Office, we have Wallace Trembleth. Our Community Development Director, Liz Becker, is in the audience. And our Municipal Planning Office, Aaron Clokey, is here also. So welcome, everybody. Starting off with the agenda item, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the December 13, 2018 meeting. For those who are not aware, we did not have sufficient members present last month to approve the December meetings, so we continued it to this month. So I would accept a motion to approve the December 13, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission minutes.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Frank.
I would make a motion to approve the December 2018 minutes.
So moved by Commissioner Frank. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Hine. Are there any corrections or additions? Hearing none, please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
Oh, whoops. See, everything's wrong on this one.
Still waiting on you, Chuck.
I abstain.
He wasn't here.
I wasn't here.
Okay.
I was at President's Day meeting.
Chuck was here.
In December?
Oh, December. Yeah, December.
This is for the December meetings. Okay.
This is you're talking about the December,
Yes, the December meeting, the minutes of the December meeting. So please record the vote.
With the exception of Commissioner Wingeter and Commissioner Davis, who abstained, all other members have voted aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. I would now accept a motion to approve the minutes of the January 17, 2019 Planning and Zoning meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the January 17th, 2019.
Motion made by Commissioner Wingeter.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Are there any corrections or additions? Hearing none, please cast your vote. Please record the vote.
With the exception of Commissioner Ani and Commissioner Frank, who both abstained, all members voted aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on, we have one item on the agenda tonight for a public hearing. That's PLN 19004 ARZ. And that is a petition to annex and plat a portion of a previously abandoned YDOT right-of-way located and in the southwest quarter of Section 18, Township 33 North, Range 79 West, Natrona County, Wyoming, a vacation and replat of Lot 1, McNamara Height Addition, to create the West Casper Commerce Center Addition, comprising 1.6 acres more or less, generally located at the northeast corner of CY Avenue and Southwest Wyoming Boulevard, in consideration of a request to establish the zoning as C2, the applicant being 7 Synergy Holdings LLC. I would also like to advise the applicants that it takes 4 affirmative votes to carry any motion, not just a simple majority of the commissioners present. Anything less than 4 votes is a denial. Applicants may postpone their public hearing until next month in anticipation of more Planning and Zoning Commission members present if they so desire. Do we have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Seven Synergy Holdings LLC has applied for an annexation plat and zone change to create the West Casper Commerce Edition. The subject property is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Southwest Wyoming Boulevard and CY Avenue and is currently undeveloped, vacant land. The proposed West Casper Commerce Center addition encompasses approximately 1.88 acres and is creating a single platted lot through the combination of Lot 1, McNamara Heights Edition, and the annexation of an approximately half-acre parcel of unplatted abandoned right-of-way. It used to be part of CY Avenue. Properties surrounding the subject property are zoned C2 General Business to the south and east and PH Park Historic to the north and west. The applicant has applied for C2 zoning as Lot 1 McNamara Heights Edition is currently zoned C2. The property currently has 2 existing points of legal access, a 30-foot easement from the east and a 35-foot easement and curb cut on the north off of Southwest Wyoming Boulevard. The applicant's future plans for the development of the property are unknown at this time, but C2 zoning allows any of the 51 uses listed at the end of your staff report as permitted uses by right. With that, Mr. Chairman, I will enter 8 exhibits. A is the application for annexation. B, application for replat. C, petition for a zone change. D, vicinity map of the 300-foot radius. E, copy of the plat. F, public notice sent to the Star Tribune. G, notice of public hearing sent to property owners within 300 feet. And H, memo to the chairman and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I would also note that we received no public comments on this case. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Exhibits A through H are accepted for the record. I now declare the public hearing open for consideration of case PLN 19004 ARZ. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, the rules of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and other applicable laws. I would ask the individuals who address the commission to approach the lectern, identify yourself, and state your address. Would the person or persons representing case PLN 19004 ARZ come forward and please explain the application?
Good evening. Bill Faringer with CEPI, 6080 Enterprise Drive in Casper. Thank you for the consideration of the project. I am representing the owner tonight. I had a conversation with him on my way over here, and he's in San Francisco tonight, a lot warmer than we are, he said. So he had said that they have no concerns about any of the conditions or the staff report on this project. They purchased this project or this site as kind of an investment property. Really have no plans right now as to what they might put on it. They are looking at several options right now, but have nothing concrete offered just yet. As the staff report indicated, a big portion of it is an existing Lot 1 of the McNamara Heights, and then about half an acre of it is a abandoned CY Avenue right-of-way from YDOT that was abandoned over 13, 14 years ago, something like that. And there are some utilities and stuff that are in the way that will probably more than likely have to be relocated whenever they decide what it is they want to put on this project or on this site. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to address them.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for Mr. Faringer?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Commissioner Frank.
On the CEPI exhibit that you've got where it shows that one right there, it shows the 30-foot road easement coming from the east.
Yes.
That appears, if you look at the picture, to be right where the parking lot is for that hotel.
That is correct. It comes, that access easement, it does go right through.
Right through where they've got the lines.
Yes.
Okay.
That is exactly correct. They've got their parking striping put in there, and that is a platted public access easement. And so whenever these new owners here decide what they want to do, if they decide they need to use that access, they will have to inform the hotel and come to some sort of an agreement on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question of the city planner. Will the removal of those off-street parking spaces is being used by the motel affect the required off-street parking for the motel?
Mr. Chairman, absolutely could. As we just discussed, it looks like the platted easement goes right through there, but that's not to say it couldn't be relocated if an agreement were reached between the property owner and the neighbor. So I guess I would suggest that it be relocated farther to the south, but that'll be up to the property owner. And of course, they won't be allowed to reduce their parking requirement below what is required by code.
And if I might be able to add to that, I would agree with what Mr. Collins said, is that that has been discussed, and the thought has been that, you know, they work with the hotel and possibly relocate that access easement to go down one of their drive lanes through their parking lot so that they don't have to lose.
Well, I was going to say, there's so many trees there, I just wondered how they were going to arrange for that. It would be a shame to see it cut down.
And as far as like the trees and everything go, it all depends on what they decide to put in this lot, this site. So when the time comes, we'll be working closely with the planning department and make sure we don't reduce any parking or get them below their required parking.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
Commissioner
question.
Wingeter.
for the Planner, and maybe you, Bill. I know you did say that there's no plans for building on this property as of right now. He's not sure what he wants to do with it, but I hope he takes into account that it looks like the property line goes right up to that statue, that welcome Casper statue. And personally, I would just hate to hide it if he builds up against it.
Right, and they're aware of that statue being there, so, yeah, when the time comes.
Yeah, I understand when the time comes.
Mr. Chairman, I have one other question.
Commissioner Davis.
Since we don't know what's going to be constructed on the site, for sure, and I look at the traffic circulation patterns that we have out there now, and look at the drainage that we have there now, with the welcome sign to the city, I would like to see one of the provisions, or put a proviso in here somewhere, the commission would have site plan approval on what is developed in there at a later date. We don't know, and this will allow us to have an opportunity to look at that to see how it fits in with the overall neighborhood development.
Mr. Chairman, the code dictates whether that site plan would go to Planning Commission, City Council, administrative approval based on the square footage of the proposed building. So without knowing what's proposed or the size of the building at this time, I can't say whether it would come back to the commission or not. I would just caution that the Planning Commission that there is really no mechanism to attach a condition to a zone change, and I feel it would probably be inappropriate to attach it to the plat as well at this point. I think the code adequately addresses that.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Collins.
And I would like to add that the developers or the company that has bought this are, in working with them through this, they seem to be very community conscious, and I've seen some stuff of what they've done in other states and other areas, and it's always very, very nice, very well done, very tasteful. And I know that when the time comes for them to develop this site, they'll be working very closely with the city staff and make sure that it's tasteful and it complements everything in the area.
We've also got some drainage right at that corner that you're going to have to take an effect at look at the same time.
Correct, and we have discussed that drainage with them already, that they'll have to put in some storm sewer to divert the drainage around the site. And we've already talked with YDOT and agreed to that also.
Further questions for Mr. Farringer, Commissioner Vice Chairman Heim?
So the intent is to possibly build on that site, build a building on that site, instead of matching up to the existing kind of easement line there? Is that,
I guess I'm not following you.
uh, so they might build on that portion then, with a building? Is that the intent?
On the annexation area?
Yes,
Yeah, 'cause again, it just depends on what they end up needing in there, if that's gonna be parking, or if that's gonna be building, or what it would be. So, we have not put any footprint or anything on this parcel yet, so. There is a potential that there could be something right there, but that may be parking, not sure what it would be at this time.
because my only concern with that is, again, taken away from that statue. It's kind of a gateway,
Sure.
and I think they need to be sensitive to that in all directions there.
And they were, like I said, they were very, very aware of that statute when they were considering this parcel.
Cool.
Further questions from the commission for Mr. Farringer?
I have a question for staff, Chairman. What
Commissioner
are
Doran.
setbacks from the highway? Setback requirements for buildings?
There are none in a commercial zone. Residential is primarily where you see the setbacks.
Okay.
Of course, there are setbacks for things such as sight distance and things like that on intersections. But I do want to mention also, since traffic came up, depending on the traffic generation of whatever use is eventually put there, that it could generate a need for a traffic study as well. So, but if it's a lower volume use, then a traffic study will not be necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Farringer.
Thank you very much.
As required by state law, we will invite people to comment in favor of or in opposition to all public hearings. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak either in favor of or against PLN 19004 ARZ? Yes, sir.
Hello. Terry Johnson, 902 South Beach Street, Casper, Wyoming. Familiar faces here. I'm one of the owners of the Super 8 Hotel. And of course, interested, concerned, not knowing what is proposed. But they've already brought up the parking requirements, access, egress, all sorts of issues. And I don't know when we'll know what type of building it will be or business it will be. And the crazy rumor out there for months has been a car wash. Really? There's a car wash right to the east of that.
One right, yeah.
Huh? You've heard that too?
Yeah.
It's like, and I guess, in our, we have the easement, but who knows what the attorneys will figure out on that one, but having a car wash there would be probably pretty horrible for our business. So I just wanted to make sure we had a spokesman here, and we'll just have to wait and see what I don't know what height restrictions would be in the new zoning, whether it would block our visibility from the west and south. Again, the parking, access, road, coming to an agreement on maintenance of the driveways if they're on our property, if we have the easement. So I'm a developer, so I'm not against good development. I just want to make sure we know what's coming and how many more meetings will there be on this?
Well, I would ask staff to address those issues if they feel so inclined as to address the concerns that you possibly have on that. So, Mr. Collins, do you have any comments you'd like to?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, to answer the number of meetings left on this request, it will go to the City Council. There will be 3 readings over the next several months. The site plan, when it does come forward, regardless of the size, requires notification of property owners within 300 feet, so they will get a heads up. May or may not be a public hearing with that, but they're invited to make comment, and there is an appeal process with that if they're unhappy with the decision that staff makes, assuming that we're small and staff were allowed to approve it. So also want to reassure people that although the code requirements are fairly black and white as far as meeting codes. We as staff always do work very hard to ensure compatibility with neighboring properties, so we will definitely be looking out for many of these issues that we've heard tonight.
Okay, does that partially answer some of your concerns, Mr. Johnson?
But also the monument sign, I know I'm coming from the east, and we've got that beautiful statue of what made Casper great, and it's blocked at times by equipment, and I think that's a good concern that we don't want to block that beautiful entree to Casper, Wyoming. So
I agree with
I
that.
would say that. So. But you know, you all know what I'm saying about the east side. What's coming in is sometimes parks trackers there. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there anybody else in the audience wishing to speak either for or against application PLN 19004 ARZ? Hearing none, I now declare the public comment section closed. And I ask a question of our city attorney. We have in our procedure 3 separate votes on this. Is that your recommendation to vote on all 3 parts of the application
Yes, Mr.
individually?
It's right in the order that it's listed in staff report. First the annexation, then.
Okay, all right, we'll take that. We'll be looking at 3 separate issues. First will be, I'll entertain a motion to approve and forward a due pass recommendation to the City Council to deny or table case PLN 194 ARZ regarding the annexation.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the PLM 1944 ARZ petition.
Motion to approve the annexation made by Commissioner Wingeter. Is there a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Discussion. Hearing none, please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With the exception.
I voted yes.
It's okay. Okay, got it, Chuck. With the exception of Commissioner Hein, all other members vote aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to approve and forward a due pass recommendation to the City Council to deny or table case PLN 194 ARZ regarding the replat. Or I guess just the plat, not the replat. Is there a motion to approve and forward a due pass recommendation for the plat?
Mr. Chairman,
So moved, yeah.
Commissioner Frank.
I'll second his movement.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Frank. Discussion.
Is that with the condition that's listed in the staff report?
That's with the condition as, with the staff, I assume it is with the condition as proposed in the staff report. No discussion, please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With the exception of Commissioner Hein, all other members vote aye, motion carries.
Okay, I would now entertain a motion to approve and forward a due pass recommendation to the City Council to deny or table case PLN 194 ARZ regarding the zoning to C2.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Mr. Frank.
move to forward a due pass recommendation to City Council on PLN 19004 ARZ for the zoning as C2 on this plat.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Wingeter. Any discussion? Commissioner Hein, Vice Chairman Hein.
If we approve that, that means that they can build on that portion of the property. And I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather see what they're doing to approve it instead of, not knowing what they would do with it. Because that means they can build all the way up to anywhere in that property. And I have a concern with them kind of blocking. It doesn't kind of go with that existing line. If you go up to the existing use, practically like in front of the hotel. I know they're using part of it as parking. I don't have a problem with that as long as it's kind of low-lying like the parking. But I think a building would definitely take away from the statue, as well as probably block the hotel exposure from the highway.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Davis.
that's the reason I asked for a site plan approval for everything, so we got a final look at what's going to go in before it's constructed. We should be able to identify where the building's going to go, what the setbacks are going to be, what the off-street parking's going to be, and
Either that or
look
it's
at the
carte blanche.
drainage.
Yeah, it's carte blanche. I mean,
I guess I would comment on that. Again, my thoughts would be that the primary purpose, one of the primary purposes of our Planning and Zoning Commission is the zoning aspect, is planning and zoning. And the zoning, nothing could be done. It's my understanding nothing can be done in this area until it's zoned. And it's just going to be in limbo until that, and it's at least on that side on the east side of Wyoming Boulevard and on both the north and south side of CY Avenue, it's all C2. I don't personally see any inconsistency with making that a C2 zone, and I think there's plenty of chances down the road to further evaluate it, depending on what is proposed. So I would personally be against holding up the zoning issue just because we don't know what's going to go in there. I think it needs to be zoned, and then other issues could follow after that as to what may or may not be appropriate in there. But I think the area needs to be consistent with the surrounding lands to the northeast and to the south and southeast. So that's my thought.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to maybe ask the city attorney to interject on what it would possibly mean if we were to deny a property owner use of their property. Maybe Mr. Trimbath can handle that.
Mr. Chairman, if I can address that in a little bit different way, the issue before the Planning Commission is zoning, right? So a lot of the concerns that I'm hearing are about what the actual site plan and building will be looking like, and that's not the issue before the Planning Commission today. They, in fact, the Planning Commission doesn't have the authority to conditionally zone and attach conditions like are being talked about right now. Do have the authority to determine if the zoning category, C2, is appropriate, or whether residential is appropriate, or C3, or something else. But the other sort of concerns about how the building is going to sit would be more appropriately addressed at a city council meeting or an appeal or at one of those other forums that are available.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Wingeder.
From what I understand, as far as building goes, if it's less than 20,000 square feet, it does not have to, the site plan does not have to come before us, right? But if it's over 20,000 square feet, do I have the numbers right?
Mr. Chairman, the code allows in this case, since there's no residential around, up to 20,000 square feet of building footprint to be approved by staff. However, there is always a mechanism in the code that allows for an appeal of that decision if somebody's aggrieved.
Mr. Chairman, I have a little concern over that 20,000 square feet though, because we then won't know what's going on as far as if it's blocking the motel's view or something like that, or blocking the statue. It doesn't come to us if it's lower than 20,000 square feet, right?
That's correct, and it does require you to trust your staff and understand that there's a process in place if we mess up, that the public, the neighbors, somebody can appeal it.
Mr. Tremeth.
In addition, the call about what size site plan to give to the planning commission or to go to council was a legislative decision by council. Council made the determination that it's appropriate for certain sizes to go one place and certain sizes the other.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, we don't have a say if it's, we don't have a say in this, if it's over, I mean, if it's less than 20,000 square feet. We don't approve the site plan.
You don't approve the site plan, there are other processes in place to deal with it if somebody is aggrieved.
Mr. Chairman? I guess it looks like we're kind of seeing stuff on the negative side, and I can envision a property that would be wildly complementary to both the hotel and the statue. So I think there's two different ways to look at the impact. While I agree that the car wash idea would not be really the most appetizing development for the entry of the city, I can see something that would be very beneficial to both features.
I would tend to agree with Commissioner Ani on that. I think that, again, I think in order to know what we're looking at in the future, we have to get the area zoned. Until then, it's premature to be entirely negative about it. But that's just that's how I feel. But I do agree with Mr. Ani on that. Dee, did we have a second to that motion?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so the motion is seconded and we're in the discussion. Is there further discussion on the motion to recommend to council a do pass recommendation on PLN 19.4 ARZ? Further discussion?
I have a comment.
Vice Chairman
My
Hunt.
concern is just saying C2, because again, that opens it all up to pretty much do anything. And I don't have a problem. I'm an architect, so I'm pro-development. But if you look at the uses, pretty much it's a setback from the highway. And my concern is using it for anything except parking. And if it were used as parking, it could, again, go with something built there, because I don't have a problem with it being built in the pink, except that's blocking it off from the north, but that's not what we're talking about right now. But that's just my concern, is that setback, and if you're matching up uses, that's how I would do it, and all the setbacks are matching up for everybody, and it's the same line for everybody then. Whereas if they put a building in front of it, it's not. That's just my only concern. Trying to fit it in there, and again, I think parking or access and stuff like that is a good use for that.
Craig, with the use plan that we approved last year, you folks would be taking that into consideration for any specific programs or plans that came in front of your office. I mean, that would be foremost, I would assume, in terms of how you would evaluate as to what you thought needed to be done.
Mr. Chairman, absolutely. Everything that we do, we use that Generation Casper plan as kind of our guiding document. Although in a lot of cases, the standards that are in that have not yet been adopted in code. We push as far as we can. And I can say, I don't know this applicant, but I do know their engineer, and their engineer is an advocate. They live here in town, and I'm proud of the projects that we've accomplished together in the past, and I have no doubt that this will be a nice one as well. And I agree with a lot of the comments that are being presented here by the commission. I understand the concerns, and I can tell you that they'll be taken into account as we review this, but I can't say for sure that somebody will not be able to build on that property. But I can tell you that we're going to do all we can to make sure that it's compatible with the neighborhood and the location surrounding it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Davis.
I guess the C2 doesn't bother me anything, because I think the price of the land is gonna dictate the type of the development that's gonna go there. The price of that property when it's sold, you're not gonna be able to put a daycare center there, home daycare, those kind of things. You're gonna be looking at those things that are high value, that is gonna be of a retail oriented, or I would think. That's just a guess on my part, but I think that's gonna dictate the type of development.
Okay.
That's my personal thoughts.
That's what we're here for. Further comments from Commission?
One
Vice
more.
Chairman Hine.
And then I'll shut up. But it's an odd piece of property, and it's a big chunk out of the highway setback. That's what it looks like and feels like to me. And that's what I'm having a problem with. I know the gateways, they jump through a lot of hoops to get that located there. So anyway, I just think a building that closer to the highway in that area would stick out like a sore thumb. I just don't think it's right. And again, to say C2, that just opens it all up for building, and I'm not there.
Okay. Further comments from the Commission? Hearing none, please cast your vote on the motion to approve and forward a due pass recommendation to the City Council regarding the zoning to C2 of PLN 19 for ARZ.
With the exception of Commissioner Hine, all members vote aye. The motion carries.
Now we'll sit back and wait and see what goes in or what's proposed. Okay, next item on our agenda is council actions. I don't see our council liaison here, but I guess I would ask staff if they're aware of any council actions that need to be transmitted to us.
The only thing that we can think of, Mr. Chairman, is the Elkhorn addition on the east side was recently approved, received final approval on third reading. So that's over there off of Newport and 12th, I believe, large subdivision. So that's the only major significant thing that's happening.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the Commission on that issue? Okay, moving on, I would go to our special issues on our agenda, and I would invite our Municipal Planning Office Director or whatever, Aaron Clokey, to step forward. And
hello. Do I need to give my address? Never mind.
200 North David, we'll go with that.
We know where you live, or I mean work.
So I'm Aaron Clokey. I'm with the MPO. The MPO office is an office housed in community development and our mission is to oversee transportation planning throughout the Casper area. So that includes not just Casper, but also portions of the county, Mills, Bar None, and Evansville. We work closely with all these municipalities and YDOT and CATSI and the airport to really try to create a cohesive transportation system throughout the area and make sure that we're all on the same page and working together. Every five years, we update our long-range transportation plan. So this is very similar to what you all adopted not too long ago. The comprehensive plan process is very similar. But our focus here is strictly on transportation and really all things under the sun related to transportation. The ultimate goal of the project really is ultimately to develop a list of concrete projects that are to be implemented and a series of policies that are to be implemented to prepare for the future growth of our community and to really pursue the best transportation system that we can to serve our citizens. So whether that means taking a closer look at our bus system or road safety, our bicycle network, our pedestrian trails and sidewalks, all of those things are being reviewed. This plan is really important because it really sets the stage for future transportation planning in the future. And it also dictates the priorities for future analysis. Some of you might be aware of an East Belt Loop study that was recently done or performed by YDOT, and it was controversial, especially with those who lived on the east side. But that study didn't come from nowhere. It was the implementation of an East Belt Loop was identified in the 1997 Long Range Transportation Plan. So everything that we do here will ultimately dictate what is prioritized, and not just for planning efforts, but also for funding by state and federal funding sources. Examples would include the Bar None interchange on I-25 and West Winds Road that was just implemented, that was identified in the long-range plan. The West Belt Loop that was identified in the long-range plan. So what we're doing today will impact our transportation system, maybe not next year, but certainly 10, 15 years out, it will make a difference. So as I said, we are, this process is very similar to the Casper's comprehensive plan. We're starting out with gathering as much data as we can and gathering as much information. And we're also reaching out to the public. So as Commissioner Hine alluded to earlier, we do have a survey out. And I would encourage you, if you haven't taken it yet, please get on our project website, connectingcrossroads.com, and take our survey. We're starting out with asking big questions. What's important to you? What should we prioritize? What do you want out of your future transportation system? So far, we've heard, not surprisingly, by and large, the majority of respondents want a safe transportation system. They want us to focus on safety. Not necessarily how fast we get to our destinations, not necessarily one transportation mode over another, but just focusing on safety. And also what we're hearing is a greater focus on bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure for our citizens. So we're looking forward to moving ahead and asking more detailed questions. And that's kind of why I'm here tonight. We have some upcoming events in the second week of March, and I'd like to encourage you all to join us. I'm going to hand these out so that you don't forget. Big flyers so you can put them on your bathroom mirror and think daily about what you'd like your future of transportation to be, and come to our meetings. So this is the second week of March, March 12th, 13th, and 14th. And we'll be focusing on several topics. These are really all-day events where you can really stop by any time. But if you're can't really talk about any of these topics, but if you really want to kind of get down into the details or into the weeds of some of these specific topics, we've outlined specific times where we'll be kind of doing some workshops on safety or bicycle pedestrian or transit. Another specific portion of this week that I'd like to invite you all to, and it's not on that specific flyer, is a growth and development workshop. And that is 9 a.m. on Wednesday morning, so that's the 13th. And this is going to be an opportunity where we can look at big picture, kind of the big picture growth of the Casper area and how our land use policies affect not only what gets developed and where, but how it impacts our transportation system. And I think you're the perfect group to kind of give us some input on that. Because I know you think about the big picture every day, and you understand kind of where the rubber meets the road when it comes to big policies that we make. So please let me know if you have any questions about this event, and I really look forward to seeing you all there.
Aaron, I do have a quick question. First of all, the website you referenced is on the bottom of the handout, I see, but how long will the survey be open for participation?
We'll keep it up probably until this event.
Okay.
So you have 3 weeks, roughly.
And that's the 13th?
Yes. Yeah. But really, we're holding workshops on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then a final presentation on Thursday at 6 p.m. And if you can make it to that as well, that would be stellar.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Clokey from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I have one
Mr.
question.
Wingeter.
Eric, we've talked before, you probably know what I'm going to ask you. Has the MPO, I've heard more people comment on, as you come up from Denver, Casper's a beautiful city, pretty proud of it. But you can't, what I'm trying to say is you come up the interstate, it looks pretty bad. As you know, and I don't want to, and I was just wondering if the MPO has thought about that. Now, I'm talking about starting out in Evansville, you see chunks of cement right by the highway. And then no way would I want to stifle any businesses along the highway, but I was wondering if there could be some kind of a program to encourage and maybe help out some of the businesses with maybe some trees or something like that. Like I said, I wouldn't want to stifle any business, but has that been on the agenda? Have you guys talked about something like that?
Yeah, absolutely, we have. A few years ago, yeah, it's been about 2 or 3 years ago, we adopted a I-25 beautification of our corridors and entryways along I-25, and that was a guide for future YDOT improvements and improvements by the city. And actually, just as of yesterday, the city of Casper is moving forward on using some of those federal and state funds that they've inherited to improve some intersections along I-25. And so that is a plan that is used regularly by YDOT. So whenever they're making improvements along I-25, they're referencing it. And whenever we have the resources available, we put it to work in making sure that that corridor is improved. There are other recommendations in that plan for there are different zoning tools that can be implemented. It's just a matter of encouraging your city council to adopt those zoning codes. So, but right now, I think the best tool we have is using some of those beautification funds that we receive from YDOT and the state and federal government in implementing some of those beautification projects. Aaron,
does your area of review extend beyond the Casper city limits, or are you limited to just within the city limits?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we are focused on, not just Casper, but also Mills, Evansville, Barnum, and some of the outlying county areas.
So the concern that Commissioner Wingeter has, which I share also, is within your sites, that you're aware of that, and that as much as you can, you're coming up with those in your reviews.
Absolutely, yeah. It's our job to kind of look at the big picture and then pass it along to your municipal planners and engineers like Mr. Collins and Mr. Beamer, and they're doing a good job of taking it away and putting it into action.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of information, if I may. When I was a kid, my dad had a gas station on Yellowstone, and that, of course, that was a major highway coming through town. Well, the original interstate was supposed to go way up by the event center. Of course, the event center wasn't there at the time. But the citizens of Casper, the business people of Casper, they had many meetings, town meetings, city meetings, And they wanted to bring the interstate as close into the city as possible so people would get off the interstate and shop. And that's why we're ending up with this interstate so close to the downtown core area. And now I understand they wish they had, YDOT wishes they had room for additional lanes. But now they're stuck unless the day ever comes when they do move further up north. Anyway, that was just on my mind, thought I'd say.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions for Mr. Cloakey from the commission? Vice Chairman Hein.
Speaking of beautification, have you checked out the underpass lately? The condition of it?
Which underpass?
Center Street?
Oh,
Almost weekly,
Yeah, it's looking pretty rough.
I would agree.
That's the main gateway. It took a while to fix it last time, I'm just saying that, getting that out there.
Council did allocate 500,000 to update that, and that should happen beginning of July.
Oh, good.
Further comments or questions for Mr. Cloakey from the commission?
Underpass, Center Street.
Aaron, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll get on it. For those of us who haven't filled out the survey yet, we'll get it in.
I'll hunt you down if you.
I know you will. Liz, will you be incorporating the Fight Your Blight issue in your report, or is there somebody else on staff going to handle that? Or Craig, all right. We have another special issue, Fight the Blight, that came up. I think Commissioner Winger had a question last month about the program in Cheyenne, and staff said they'd address it.
this will be relatively brief. Our code enforcement officers did reach out to the mayor in Cheyenne and had some pretty good discussion with her. What we found out was that program relied heavily on the International Property Maintenance Code. If anybody remembers that discussion here recently, I think that probably answers itself why we're not gonna take that up right now. But that's something we do want to personally, I want to revisit because I think it got a bad rap and there was a lot of good things that got thrown out when that got dismissed, so.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Any questions for staff on the Fight the Blight concern? All right. Community Development Director, Liz, do you have anything for us?
I do.
All right, you've got the floor.
To segue with what Mr. Wilson was talking about, we have a coffee talk scheduled coming up on Thursday, March 13th, which is part of the consultants. Is it?
I wrote 14.
14th, thank you. Thursday, March 14th. It's 7 a.m. in here, and as part of the consultants' visit to the city, that will be one of the topics that they'll be bringing forward. So Dee will be getting out the postcards, and then listening to what Aaron was saying just now about this growth discussion, the day before we'll incorporate that into our notification to you. So you've got kind of both of them as ticklers. But again, coffee talk will come up on the 14th. Again, with the long-range transportation plan.
We'd have to hang around till 9 o'clock.
No, it's different days.
Yeah.
Different days.
Oh, okay.
You can hang around overnight if you want. No, there's different days. One's Wednesday at 9 a.m. and one's Thursday at 7.
Oh, okay, that's Thursday the 14th. Okay, sorry.
And that will be actually what we're going to incorporate as our training. When we had to cancel the other day, we regrouped as staff when we had to cancel because Mr. Collins was ill. We decided we would do our training as part of that coffee talk and incorporate the long-range transportation plan into that for the month of March. However, we are looking forward to another training, which is going to be more of a tour with you when the weather gets a little bit better than it is outside. In the past, we've done a tour, utilized a CATSI bus, which we have at our disposal, and gone out and looked at the West Belt Loop and toured around there and looked at development opportunities. As of yesterday, we attended the Flat River Trails Trust annual meeting and really got an update on the Rimrock Recreation Area. which is, again, the piece of property where the battlefield site is, out the Red Butte battlefield site. And back in July of this past year is when the BLM was able to acquire all the land around that area, which is part of the oxbow that goes down to the Platte River, is part of the Rimrock Recreation Area. That is wonderful. It's going to be a public access area. That's why we want to take you all out there. It is going to stifle some development to the west, which we had incorporated at one point into our comprehensive plan. So we want to just give you all, if you've not seen it or if you've seen it on maps only, we want to go out and actually look at the area, look at the development that's around the Robertson Road Trevitt area, and then look at this large recreation area that will actually become now truly Casper's west edge, Casper's west boundary. And again, it's going to be a public area open for hiking and fishing and cycling and just pedestrian access. But I don't know if you all have seen a lot of it, but I think it would be timely for us to take a trip and go out probably on a lunch hour with box lunch and tour out there and see that. But we would like to probably wait until April when our weather is a little bit better than it is now. So,
Okay, so the date still has not been set on that, but it
just kind of looking for some feedback to see if there's nods for this, but we do like to get the commission out in the area and kind of see what's going on with Casper's growth. So is there interest?
Could you try to schedule it after April 15th?
Because what is your occupation? Yes. So one request for after tax day, but is there other interest?
I'm interested in going, and I have no dates that would not work that I know of. I would have thought with the government shutdown that our tax deadline was pushed back 30 days.
It's not shut down, and quite honestly, the IRS, I guess, is considered essential personnel. Who knew?
Okay.
You have this identified on a,
Pardon?
you have this identified on a quad map?
We have got maps, yes, we do. And they'll be visual aids for you. I don't have it up right this minute, no.
No, if we drop by the office, we can look at one?
Oh, yeah.
7.5 minute quad, okay.
This is just something that's kind of come up and we've been noodling it around.
We don't have quads anymore.
Well, I just heard the word map. Commissioner Ani, are you interested?
I mean, I'll tag along. I'm very familiar with the property and I've been there more times than I probably care to, but sure, I'll tag along.
But from a planning commissioner perspective, this would be something new. Yeah. Okay. Trying to keep this exciting. Even though these meetings are, we want to get you out.
Let me pull this up real quick, Liz.
Okay. The suspense is mounting. He is using his regional GIS.
It'd be right before you get to the old location of the trail side, on the other side of the river.
Excellent point. Yeah, as we all think about the trail side. And
Or the Blue Ox, what was the restaurant up there?
branding iron.
Blue
You'll remember the branding iron.
I remember the branding.
I remember the branding
Well,
iron. I used to work at the branding iron.
There you go.
Nick, yeah, Nick,
Back a few years.
Dos Ludas?
I don't place that real well, and I know that area pretty well.
You know, some of you long-timers are starting to sound like Dallas Laird. He could not make it through a hearing, a city council meeting without recollecting his childhood. This is turning into the same, I'm
Where's
sorry.
that, where it's beginning? Where it begins?
Yeah.
Well, it's the end of Trevitt Lane, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the west end of Trevitt Lane. You can park there. You can actually go and
Trevitt
use it
Lane?
now.
There is
know where that is,
land
exactly.
between that and
Okay.
the boundary, but
And all that stuff as it makes the bend and up to the top of the bluff.
it really makes that big circle.
Be
around
nice.
It was all Schlitz property, wasn't it?
it. Yeah,
it's the Johnson Ranch, and then there was some Shriners property that had been given to them for a potential hospital long ago.
they had that weird structure over
Fascinating
there
history.
along the river.
So we've got,
So here's the end of Trevitt Lane, Robertson Road's here, so west on Trevitt Lane to the terminus, and then it would be this area out here, adjacent to the river.
and we go up, but remember, but West Belt Loop, is there a layer for, it cuts in?
This is the West Belt Loop here, so.
Okay, I had pictured it a little differently, so that's be very interested in seeing that.
So we'll go on a cross-country venture. with maps. And Commissioner Ani's good guiding expertise and a CPA, and we're gonna be fine. It's gonna be like Gilligan's Island, but we will.
Will we have our own song?
We will.
All right. Are there any questions for our Community Development Director in her report? Thank you. All right, the OID issue, OID project with Commissioner Feth and Vice Chairman Hine. Do you have anything to report on OID?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question for the planner, community.
Sure.
Your proper title is community Liz, your title is community development, or is? He's a community development, and, okay, what's your title? Assistant city manager?
Yeah, right.
Well, I was gonna ask this earlier about this plat we approved tonight. The sidewalk, now that's a very, everybody knows it's a very busy intersection. I mean, cars go by there so fast. Is that sidewalk bumped up right against the curb? Or is he gonna have
Just closed out of my presentation, I had some
Yeah.
actual,
The sidewalk on the CY side is backed up a little bit off of the CY Avenue, but on the side on Wyoming Boulevard, there really is no sidewalk there, and that's one of the
Yeah.
conditions was that they,
yeah, and I was gonna ask him if the sidewalks are gonna be right.
I think they should put a big over the road thing too, so you can get over to Moran Park. No.
That all-
Did I forget that?
That all costs money. That all costs money.
let's see.
Well, there is a sidewalk.
Yeah, if you look at this, you can see where the sidewalk currently ends before
It
the,
ends right there.
But those cars coming around that corner, fast.
It's not typically someplace you see a lot of people walking.
I know it. I just thought I'd mention it. So actually, they're just gonna finish that one portion.
And probably a little on the other side.
right, it goes beyond the driveway.
They'll probably go,
So you
They'll
may
go
be able
clip
to
the
walk
driveway,
that
won't they?
sidewalk far enough to cross the street to go into Murad Park. Because now there's no sidewalk on the other side of the street, which is, I think, city-owned, or maybe that's YDOT.
There's the parkway on the other side, by Murad Park, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but there's no sidewalk. over
Right, or directly adjacent to the street, correct?
Yeah, and the one condition that we attached to our approval on that was completion of that sidewalk.
I just was kind of curious.
Okay, back on, any update on OID from our representatives?
Okay, I can. Go ahead, Brett. Okay. OID Commission met on January 28th. First item discussed was the Midwest project, grant application, provide for update on that. We're applying for a grant for $2.5 million to upgrade from David Street to Elm Street, and then another grant, $2.5 million from Elm to Walnut. Grant application was submitted in December, and this would require a match from the city also. They'll have a meeting down in Cheyenne in February. Maybe they had the meeting already, I don't know.
It's actually gonna be here in March.
Oh, okay. They will meet with the board of directors on that. For the state office building, an update, the state will be putting in a park strip where the current turn lane is, since there won't be any turning into any of those where the buildings before. There's no need for a turn lane, so they're gonna put a strip, and that will be done by the state itself. On the Plains building, an RFP has been amended to permit sale of Plains Furniture parking lot with purchase of one of the buildings in there. It can't be purchased by itself, it has to go with one of the buildings. Proposals were due on February 14th. The Brownsfield update. The grant meeting was held in early January, and OID owners are encouraged to apply for funding. About $200,000 is available for funding, and that's what's still available. Some has been already.
Work must be done by September. They had an election of OID officers for this year. Bob Hopkins was reelected. He wasn't present, that's probably why. And Vice Chairman was Randy Hine. He was the lone dissenting vote on that one. And also, OID has its own Facebook page now. I don't have a address for it or anything like that, but probably can be found on the internet. And the final item we talked about was the conference center. They're looking for proposed sites yet. They met to discuss how to handle this with a government foundation. The property has to be owned by the government in order to get the funding. So that makes for a little stickiness here, I think. So just something to be aware of. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, very thorough report. Commissioner Wingeter.
I just have a question. That conference center that we've been hearing about for the last several years, do they have investors for that? I mean, they just planning on?
I don't really have an answer for that.
At one time they did when it was going out on the amicable reuse, but that all fell through. But I mean, this current one that everybody's talking about, do they?
Yeah.
They have?
And I don't know if there's investors involved or not.
Do they? So this, okay, that's all I was wondering.
Okay, last month, Commissioner Wingeter graciously volunteered to be our liaison with the Casper Historic Preservation Commission. Do you have any report to us on that?
I just down late that night, and I actually forgot about the meeting. I apologize. It won't happen again.
Okay. All right.
I'll be honest.
We respect honesty. All right, any issues from the commissioners that they would care to bring forward?
You know, I've got an issue I'm kind of curious about in light of the Fight the Blight issue and the abandoned vehicle on the roadway issue. So I guess I'm curious, maybe from staff, you can give me a technical allowance to disregard code in the parkway enforcement, and then why is council stepping over? I know you can't answer this question. Why are they stepping over the parkway issue and then moving to the roadway issue?
You asking my opinion?
The code, so I mean, I guess I'm wondering about.
I'm sure you should probably give
I'm wondering about actually enforcement responsibility and oath of office and how it relates to existing code and how that can be disregarded.
I think I'm comfortable saying that a lot of people have expressed frustration, even possibly some staff members to the council, and we've been told by the mayor that it will be taken back up. I can't tell you when. I think it's a difficult issue, and I think the one on the street is a little easier. And there maybe with some new members on council, I think maybe they're getting their toe in the water to handle some of these issues. That would be my guess.
It is still on the council future discussion on parkway parking. So it has not been totally put away. It is on there. And if Councilman Hopkins was here right now, he would tell you it's on for a future agenda. We just don't know what, and the abandoned vehicle piece came up first.
Liz, isn't the reason because every time we try to change that, a lot of people that want to park on the parking and do on like the one-way streets and stuff show up and complain about it. And no, when it comes to that change, it seems like everybody shows up when they're against it, but try to get them when they're for something. That seems to be a challenge. And it's a lifestyle thing too. I think there's a lot of people that just as soon park all over their front yard as well.
I do believe there has been a council turnover, as Craig indicated. So again, when it comes up, you all will know when it's scheduled and probably could have a voice,
Good, thanks.
as you have. And I know Commissioner King had spoken at one point too, so. It's just not scheduled yet, and they're very particular on what they want to have scheduled.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
I'm going to backtrack just a little bit on the Casper Historic Preservation Commission. I do notice that we have a hard copy of a survey relating to the Historic Preservation Commission in front of us that I'm assuming that we're encouraged to complete this one and submit it also along with our MPO survey. So we do have a hard copy of a survey on that.
The hard copy, we would be happy to take that and input it into the computer for anybody that wants us to, or you can go on the city's website and do it yourself. And that survey will be up until the end of this month.
Okay.
Here's one for you.
Thank you. Any other issues from the commission? Hearing none, any issues from the public that you'd like to bring forward? Seeing none, I would,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Commissioner Frank.
I would move to, I can't even remember the word for it now. See, there you go. End the meeting. What's that?
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
Adjourn. Thank you. Thank you.
You've been crunching too many numbers.
Mention too many numbers.
Okay, prior to accepting that motion, I would remind the commission that our next meeting is March 21st, Thursday, March 21st at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. So please note that on the calendar. So with that, I would accept Commissioner Frank's motion for adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.